Revisiting Dominica's unique planning history, the Integrated Development Plan of 2001. At the turn of this century, 2000 to 2002, the Government of Dominica commissioned a group of local Dominicans to formulate an integrated development plan for the country, reflecting the thoughts, expressions, wishes, and aspirations gleaned from the community at large. To date, the wisdom of this plan, the IDP, has faded from the collective memory of our society, while the same economic and social problems persist. This short slideshow is aimed at rekindling interest in the conclusions of this major planning achievement by providing a short preview of the final chapter of the IDP, Chapter 7, which outlined in stunning detail the implementation plan of the IDP. This chapter has 8 sections outlining in vivid detail how to plan economy and society in Dominica. These include 1. The imperative for the implementation, 2. The instruments of implementation, 3. How to make the transition, and 4. The actions by the public sector for implementation. These actions by the public sector included directives for 9 ministries. These are the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment, the Ministry of Community Development and Women's Affairs, the Ministry of Education, Sports and Youth Affairs, the Ministry of Health and Social Security, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Enterprise Development, the Ministry of Tourism, Ports and Employment, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Marketing. It also included some aspects about the Central Statistical Office and guidance on how to share information in the administrative structure for governance. Its how to plan content also included the following: actions by the private sector, actions by the civil society, 7 core project briefs, and an associated legislative brief. The 7 core project briefs were as follows: an IDP commission, change management for public sector leadership development, a code for financial management, a Dominica land bank, a national public education program, a national youth services program, and institutional strengthening of civil society programs. These are all suggested instruments within the IDP planning matrix. Critical to this planning exercise were the strategic guidance on how to make the transition to a more democratic and holistic approach to development planning. The recommendations included the following: that economic and social benefits of growth should accrue to present and also future generations of all Dominicans. A clear definition of long-term development vision, a clear definition of short and medium-term actions in pursuit of that vision, a partnership approach to design, decision-making, planning, and implementation, the strengthening and transformation of the institutions of the public, private, and civil society sectors into institutions capable of full partnership in the co-management of actions for development, investment in building and mobilizing the human and financial capabilities and capacities, and the establishment and assignment of responsibilities and the definition of timelines for legislative and policy, structural and administrative actions. The IDP identified both short and medium-term measures for implementation. It noted three planning sensitivities. The first, the time frame for the IDP is a matter of when the results are expected to occur, as opposed to when the implementation begins. 2. One of the immediate activities for facilitating implementation of the IDP is the urgent design and activation of a program of education and awareness building among all sectors. And 3. The single most important step to be taken to initialize the transition to implementation of the IDP is the decision to be made by government to establish a multi-sectoral body representing all major national interests, including social and economic policy, private sector, and civil society. This body was identified in the report as the IDP Commission, and its responsibilities are detailed in the report, inclusive of such minute details as how to establish the Secretariat to the IDP and how to meet the human needs of the Secretariat to the IDP Commission. One of the cornerstones of this planning scheme was information sharing. The IDP proposed that government should adopt the following measures as part of its information sharing functions: sharing of analysis done by external institutions with more resources than the government, like the IMF, the World Bank, and the EU; implementing a pilot project utilizing kiosk technology in dispersed communities where individuals can obtain information through the touch screen system; and freedom of information legislation in which inquiries to the public sector are required to be answered in a timely and usable form. The Ministry of Health and Community Development was to be encouraged to collaborate with the village councils, community-based organizations, and the private sector to develop a common approach to risk management in social and human conditions based on the following health factors: sedentary lifestyles, lack of exercise, obesity, high-fat diets, high-salt diets, smoking, substance abuse including alcohol abuse, unsafe sexual practices, and poor parenting styles. In another instance, the IDP created a code of financial management. This code was envisioned as an effective system for accounting and financial management reforms, designed to create a new framework for public accountability. The project sought to establish such a code by consolidating the many recommendations, plans, and policy manuals dealing with financial reporting, accounting, and budgetary decentralization and control. The IDP also called on the Ministry of Agriculture to divest itself of the obligation of extension services. It sought instead to empower a Commission for Agriculture, which, among other things, would foster privately operated full-service resource centers, FSRCs, in cooperation with civil society, servicing the information needs of agricultural enterprises and other sector activities in the multi-sector, multi-enterprise zones. A national resource inventory. The transition strategy of the IDP calls on the government and the international donors to support decisions to initiate the establishment of a comprehensive natural resource inventory system that is user-friendly and regularly updated. The Commission for Agriculture within the IDP, as well as the IDP Commission itself, were assigned to be stewards to this initiative. Now, more than 2 decades later, this 77-page implementation report still has ideas that may be relevant today. Thank you for listening.